Evening, folks. Welcome back. Hope you are enjoying yourselves tonight. It's a Monday night, so it's Q&A time. We have plenty to go over. I see there's questions in here already, so I just want to say thanks for checking out everything I've been doing lately. We're going to have more coming down the line, a couple of tweaks here and there, and I'm working on a few things as well. And just relax a little bit. They went and made a couple of signings. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. I want to get into this here pretty quickly tonight. Not sure we're going to make it the whole hour, but we'll see. Hope you guys are safe and staying healthy out there. I know a lot of people's lives have been changing lately, so is mine. And this online thing is becoming a habit at this point. So we'll jump right into it. Looks like Dylan Kruckman, thanks for your super chat. Folks, if you want to support the channel or what I'm doing here or help me bring on more contributors and etc., you can always leave a super chat and leave your donation there, but please make sure you ask a question and I'll make sure that I answer it. If you have any trouble at all, hit me and in here, and definitely hit Aaron Morrow, our fearless mod. Thank you very much, Aaron. If you want to ask a question, you've seen how a lot of folks in here ask them. Put some question marks before your question, and that'll make sure that I see them. So if you're not subbed yet, please do hit that sub button, the bell notification, like, subscribe. You know the drill. Leave your comment in the chat. If you're not seeing this live, if you found it in search on YouTube or whatever, it's not live at the moment. Leave your comments below, and I will try to get to those as well. And everybody, please, if you leave a thumbs up, it always helps YouTube find us. And we have plenty to talk about. So Dylan says, my Nico Sports Footballs finally came in. That's awesome, Dylan. I haven't heard from anyone who ordered them that actually got them yet. So I'd love to hear later in the chat what you think of them, because I haven't seen one in person yet. I'm really intrigued, and I think they're pretty cool, but I would love it if you can comment later and give me an idea of your personal opinion. So that would be my goal. Thank you again for your support. As always, Dylan's a regular around here. The dude. Hey, RGR. Hope your quarantine is going well. It is for the most part. I have tonight's Irish Red that I made. I'm going to be drinking on this one for a while because my wife loves it. So I actually made a double batch this time. Do you think that if the NFL decides to push back this upcoming season into the winter, the teams in the NFL are going to become more focused on the run? I think a lot of teams are going to have to be more focused on the run than they generally would like to be, or they were last season, because the passing game requires a lot more coordination, and it requires a lot more practice time, reps, sight adjustments, in particular in the West Coast offense, are paramount. And so you have teams that haven't been practicing together, don't have the same quarterback that they had last year, don't have the same receivers. So, yes, they're going to have to kind of buckle down, go back old school a little bit. I think you will see a little bit more, depending on if the season is postponed or not. Good question, dude. Let's see. Cole Keeler, who do you think that will end up playing in the season opener? I personally think it's going to be the Texans. It could be. I would not be surprised for them to just try to set up a rematch with somebody that's, on the docket. I'd love to see something like high scoring. Like, I'd love to see the Saints just to start to kick off the season. But I don't know. That's a really good question. I think Texans are as viable as anybody. Maybe they'll start with an AFC West matchup. I think that'd be kind of cool too. Let's see. Casey K is here. A lot of familiar faces. How are you guys? Let's see. Testicular Tactics. Reggie White or Lawrence Taylor? Ooh, wow, that is a tough one. But I will always take the guy that reestablished or set a new precedent, and Lawrence Taylor changed the way the game is played. I would take LT. Let's see. Testicular Tactics again. Be honest. Was Frank Clark really an improvement over D Ford? Yes, he definitely was. And I'll tell you some of the reasons. Let me pull up PFF over here for a second. I have a second screen going on here, guys. I set this up for the draft. If you guys saw the draft streams, I just kind of left it up because it gives me another screen that I can check things on. So let me pull this up. And I am a subscriber for PFF, so this is based off of their tracking. And so you see D Ford and Frank Clark. In fact, next time I stream, I'll use different software, and I'll be able to put this on the screen. D Ford played a total of 226 snaps last year. A total. In the regular season, that is. To Frank's 725. And Frank missed time, too. Frank ended up with more sacks. And here's the important part. Frank ended up with nearly double the pressures, 30 to 17. That is I think definitely worth it. And that's not to say anything about the run. His run defense was noticeably better. You can go by grades or anything like that, tackles, whatever. It's just one of those deals that D Ford had what? According to PFF, had 5 tackles on the season. No. D Ford is who we thought he was. Not a run stopper, not a guy that sets the edge. He's a explosive first step pass rusher that's always hurt. Frank Clark is definitely a step up. Is he as explosive? No, he's not. But he fits and does more work and is more value for what is roughly the same money. That's why they were making D Ford available this offseason. So that's a big sign right there. Gary Holland went Reggie for sure. Okay. Tactics. Man, you're on fire. Compare and contrast Eric Berry and Tyrann Mathieu. Okay. So here's the basics. Eric Berry played physical. His first step is really good. He's explosive coming downhill. He understands how to play, especially zone coverages in the back, so he could drift back to free. But it's not his natural thing. He was exposed against tight ends. You saw what Antonio Gates did to him over the years. And quite frankly, Gronk had his way as well. Just not quite the change of direction, even though he's a bigger guy than Mathieu, in order to stick with and play in position against tight ends. So I think that was it was one of his weaker points. Eric Berry, had he played 3-4 more years, he might have been a Hall of Famer. He's definitely an elite player. It's just that his play is more towards the strong safety classic role, whereas Tyrann Mathieu is really a nickel corner. And he has the short area quickness. He has the speed in order to shadow and to get around. In fact, he needs the speed to get around tight ends, to play them from both sides of their body because he's so small. And he's learned to adjust to do that. Now, he also has the deep safety skills, in an ability to read, an ability to come up and try to take the ball away. Eric Berry is much more of an enforcer, could really lay the wood in terms of physically intimidating teams, whereas Tyrann Mathieu's more of a bee floating around him trying to get a handle on it. So that's the way I would describe them. Great question, a great series of questions, tactics. Ian Roberts, I appreciate that. Thank you. If the NFL mandates no fans during games, will that help or hurt us with Arrowhead being so hard to play in for opponents? It will definitely hurt the chances of the Chiefs, except for the fact that I think they will adjust. And I think they will adjust particularly not only their attitude, but their play call. And I think they'll be more aggressive. I think they will play from ahead as much as possible. And I think a lot of times, one of the things, and I'm going to go down my top 5 things that they actually have to improve on. It's rare that you have a Super Bowl team and you say, hey, you got to fix a couple of things. One of them is slow starts, and they have to get that figured out. This is going to be a tougher season. Super Bowl or not, this is going to be a tougher season for them. And I think one thing they have to do is get out to better starts, play from a lead a little bit more. And I think that is something they'll make a concerted effort, especially if they don't have the fan support at home. And I don't mean that there isn't fan support. I mean that there won't be fans in the stadiums. Tactics. Do you put ketchup on steak like our QB? I don't use ketchup at all. I am not that guy. I use 2 things: hot sauce, and maybe a little butter on a steak every now and then. That's it. I'm not a condiment guy. So I'm only into mustard on Cuban sandwiches and brats, and no ketchup at all. And if my wife brings mayo out, we have words. So, yeah. Let's see. Whoop. Oh, plenty of questions in here. You guys are flying. I'm talking too much as it is. Okay, got Ian's, got tactics. Third one. There's Aaron. Glad you're here. Versace. With Breeland's possible suspension, when is it time to be worried about cornerback play? It was time 6 months ago, I think. The Chiefs aren't. This definitely puts a hiccup in their plan. Like they knew they had him, so I think that allowed them to, again, underplay the importance of cornerbacks based on team. And that's their philosophy. It's a couple years in a row now where they have not been worried as much as me or a lot of other people about their cornerbacks, that they feel that they can scheme it away. They have great safety play, so that is an important factor. But I do feel Breeland, I mean, unless Breeland's just completely exonerated, yeah, there's a huge suspension coming. He's already going to be suspended 4 games for a whole different incident. So I do expect they have to continue to look. There's a couple of free agents out there. I told you about them when Breeland first happened. I think Apple's the upside guy. I think Logan Ryan's the expensive guy that you can plug in and ask to play. I just don't know what they're going to do, or if they're even going to be that motivated. If they like, I mean, it's pretty thin. You're talking about Snead starting right now, at least 4 games. That's a problem. I don't like starting rookies if you don't have to. So I hope that they get something done there. And he said, who will play on the outside along with Ward? I personally think Fenton should go out there. Snead has played some nickel. You can always walk Matthew down into the nickel, so long as Juan Thornhill's back to normal, and play Watts over the top as the second safety. We know they'll use Dan Sorensen closer into the box. So you have some versatility there. And that's, again, a word that they use because they like it that much, to get over issues like this. So that's what I would expect right now. Now, maybe Fenton stays inside. They liked him there. They ran him there a lot. I mean, he doesn't have the lateral quickness, and sometimes he has to make up plays, but he does have good closing speed. So maybe they're more comfortable with that than I am, in which case I think you can put Snead outside as the third and be okay. We'll see what happens when they're in the base. I don't know who you're going to run with 2. That will be really who steps up in camp. So, yeah. Hot and spicy. How much would you pay Logan Ryan to join the Chiefs? You got to give him probably 6 or 8. I mean, he's a vested veteran with a pretty good contract he just came off of. So I think it's going to be 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range to pay him, which means a restructure with someone else or a cut. I mean, that's the only way they can get it done. So we'll see what happens. Rob Mulligan, the schedule is not out today. No, I think it's supposed to be sometime later this week. But we do know their opponents. In fact, on Locked On Chiefs, if you guys check out that over on Apple Podcasts or whatever, Chris and I are going through and talking to each of the Chiefs' opponents for next year. We started yesterday or today with the Saints. The first show I recorded this week comes out tonight here in about, it's been about 15 minutes. It's out. Talking to Aaron Freeman on the Falcons, who had a pretty good draft, pretty good offseason all the way around. They took a little bit of chance, but I think it's going to be interesting. So keep that in mind. Christopher Skidmore, is losing Fuller a huge blow to our secondary? I won't say huge, but he is, again, a versatile guy that could go in and play corner, could play safety, could move around, could have helped against this, but you didn't need to pay him that much. I do think he got overpaid. I don't think he's worth $10 million a year myself, but that's where it's at. Gary Holland, thank you. What did Taco Charlton do for the Chiefs? He's going to rotate. He's going to have a chance. I still think that Alex Okafor, as long as he's healthy, walks in and he's the starter at left end. K-Pass earned playing time, in my opinion. Whether that's behind Okafor or whether that's behind Frank on the other side, I don't know that they're really side-specific as much as they want guys who can get their jobs done. I think Speaks is a question mark coming off of injury. You want to get him in the rotation. And I think Charlton's the same way. You want to get him in the rotation. So for me, it's Clark, Okafor, and then K-Pass right now, because you don't know what you have in Charlton yet. You don't know what you have in Speaks yet. So those guys are 4 and 5, but the back 3 kind of rotate. The nice thing is I think that all of them, even Charlton to some extent, although I think he's best outside, can go inside a little bit, at least line up over a tackle rather than outside shoulder. So I think, again, that gives you options. Michael Bauer, besides the corner position, what group has the biggest glaring hole? I mean, that's really it. You might need a little bit of depth at linebacker, but you have Neiman and you have Dorian O'Daniel. We just don't know what O'Daniel is. So right now, you're too deep at the nickel, which is they're going to play 60, 70% of the time is a nickel, a 2 linebacker lineup. The nice thing is that I think Willie Gay in particular, and I think he will be a starting nickel by mid-season, if not from the get-go. I think it will be in the base, Wilson, Hitchens, Gay, and I think it's Wilson that comes off the field in the nickel. And again, I think that's by mid-season, maybe before that. We'll see how he comes in. But the nice thing is that leaves you 2 linebackers. You don't have to go to the Sorensen, the baby nickel set with 1 linebacker and a strong safety, Sorensen in there. And that helps you against the run. The times that the Chiefs got bashed against the run mostly were when they tried to put in the small nickel and teams ran on them. Having 2 linebackers that can play the pass consistently and stay on the field on third down gives you more beef in your front 6, 4 linemen, 2 linebackers. That allows you to combat the run out of the nickel with a lot better chance of winning, and I think that's going to be significant. Glaring hole is corner. A little bit of question about Thornhill's return at safety and if you have enough safety depth there, but you do have versatility. And then the bigger question, I wouldn't call it a hole because I think there's 3 or 4 guys that could fill in there. Niang, Rankin, Wiley, who's going to be the other guard? Because I don't think anybody's supplanting LDT, but I do think there's going to be another guard. So that's the question mark for me anyway. Sean Ellis, are you confident in the O-line depth? Good timing. We know the depth is a critical piece. It is. And the question is going to be about some injury recovery. Particularly, Niang's been injured. They like the rookie, and I do too. And I think that he's got a positive future. I just don't know if it's this season. Rankin, I think, I'm pretty positive on too, but I got to see how he recovered from his knee. Wiley's the question mark. I thought he took a downturn last year, and I'm not sure why. So hopefully he's gotten himself figured out. Maybe it was just nagging injury. Maybe it was a fitness strength thing, and he's had plenty of time to correct that. We'll see if he has. Let's see. Mohammad Youssuf, left guard is a big question mark. Who do you think will get the starting job? Wiley, Rankin, or Niang? I don't think it's Niang. They might try to put him over there, but I still feel that that's a big ask to ask a rookie to change sides. It's pretty significant. I think it ends up being Wiley because I think he's probably closer to ready to go than Rankin. Rankin, I think, got hurt in like week 9. So it was definitely not an early season injury. We'll have to see where he's at, but it could be Rankin as well. Who else could they put in there? They've got a number of offensive linemen that are aimed towards that spot. So, but I think those are the 3 tops. Jake from Allstake Alleg, thank you very much for your super chat. As always, I know you are a constant contributor, and I appreciate it, Jake. Your question is, no question. Well, I appreciate it, Jake. Hopefully, I spur something that makes you want to ask a question later, and I'll make sure to get you. Firefighter Farmer, I've seen the turning point play WASP played everywhere. Do they get that team's permission to show, and why would the Chiefs show that to other teams? The turning point, they don't have to get permission. NFL Films has rights to film and disclose anything and everything at the games. That is part of the internal deal. Chiefs don't really have an option. And honestly, film is film. You watch a game, you'll be able to dissect that. So, in fact, I have a cool shirt coming that is all about WASP, so keep your eyes peeled. I have some new shirt designs coming, along with the memberships that'll be here this summer sometime. Now that I have some time to work on them. So, but there's they don't really have a choice, and once you play them live, they're on film, so anybody can really display them. I don't think it's a big loss. You can make small adjustments, and quite frankly, I don't think that route's really defensible unless you know it's coming. So, the athleticism, the change of direction that Tyreek Hill has is so unique that even unless you play, you're playing quarters with 4 deep, that's about the only way that you can really say they're not going to run WASP on me right now. And even then, you got to make sure that your guys actually do their jobs. So it's part of the issue. Adam Daughtry, how do you see our running back room now? I still see right now that Damian Williams is the starter, and I think they'll sprinkle in Clyde Edwards-Helaire until he gets the feel for the offense. I don't think it'll take that long because he ran a pro offense with some West Coast concepts back there, and he runs some nice routes. I think if you go back and watch the Super Bowl again, and I know it's been on replay lately, give it a shout. There's that one play. There was probably 2 that I think were on him, but one in particular in the end zone, the Damian was wide open and didn't look for the ball. This is part of the thing that the Chiefs are trying to not have happen again. Missed opportunities. He's a little bit absent-minded about where he's supposed to be and when he's an option. I think it comes back to the thing like Mahomes is yelling at Hardman last offseason about always run through your routes. Keep running. expect to get the ball even when you don't. And I think that's part of an attitude thing. I think Damien's earned his right to be the starter. I think he will be to begin the season. I think it'll be more of a timeshare by the end. And I think they'll thank him for his service and he'll move on after this next season. But I like the fact that they have two. If Darryl's fully healthy, I could see him being a short yardage guy, but we know that Darryl can catch the ball too. He's got several receiving touchdowns. I think that's important. So I see him in there too. Then it comes down to Washington, who's got a lot of experience, and I think that gives him the edge up on Darwin Thompson. And I know a lot of you guys were super huge, pumped up about Darwin Thompson. I didn't see enough progression out of him last year. He got a few snaps in the Super Bowl, so it's not like they put him on ice. But I'm not sure if he's progressing at a pace to keep up with these other guys that they put in the backfield. And again, with the investment in Washington, with the draft pick, they're certainly making a point of adding to the running back room because they want to make it more of a weapon. As teams back off and play cover 6 and cover 4 and put more resources back, you can take advantage of that in the intermediates and in the shorts with the running back, because that's the hardest guy to account for, especially if you're playing deeper zones. Because as the deep ends move back, the linebackers have to cover more space in the middle. More space in the middle. And so it stresses the offense vertically, and that leaves more room, especially for a tight end like Travis Kelce, but definitely for the running back to have room to work. And I think that's something, once you get Hilaire in space, I think he's as deadly, if he may end up being more deadly than Damien with the ball in his hand in space. Let's see. Ralph Dries. Yes, D Ford was hurt all year. Same as the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. That is a question, and you are correct, sir. Aaron, have people been watching The Last Dance? I'm a bit obsessed. I lived in Chicago the first 3 Bills championships. So did I. I was born there. I spent a lot of time as a kid in Chicago. I have not been watching it, quite frankly. I needed some downtime after the draft, and I'm pretty much at this point in my life a football-only guy. I watch KU basketball, and I watch football. That's about it. Every now and then I go to a hockey game because I like to see the fights. Jeff Porter. Thank you, Jeff Porter. Everybody give Jeff Porter a hand, because Mr. Porter is the man that helped me get the Matrix done. You are a man among boys, my friend. And I just scrolled past you. Got to go back to it. Did you see Project 11 yet? No, it's recorded. I have not been able to watch it, and I'm trying to get my wife to watch it with me. But we just haven't had time to sit down and do it. So we're getting there. Alex is the man. I was always a proponent of his when he was in Kansas City. I hate to see what happened to him, but he shows what his spine is made of. And I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching it. Just need to be in the right frame of mind, quite frankly. Curtis Douglas, cancellation of the international games is great, in my opinion. What do you think of the league is preparing to do different other than just bringing those games home? I think clearly they're going to have some games without fans. I'm not sure what that's going to be or how long that's going to be. I think you're also going to see possibly, and I'm kind of for this, you could see some alternate locations, especially if you don't have to accommodate for fans. You could see teams playing neutral location games to try and, again, do what the NFL always wants to do, and that is expand their fan base. So, I mean, let's see. Could you see a game in Memphis? I don't know. Maybe. Think of areas that have a good following but don't have a team of their own. You know, like I live in Colorado, right? It's close enough to Denver that's a lot of what you see. Folks in Wyoming get some Chiefs games, they get some Broncos games, they get some Seattle Seahawks games. Could you do a game in Missoula at the University of Montana maybe and try to pump up what your fandom becomes? I think there's certainly an aspect of that. I think they begrudgingly canceled the international games, but they'll put those right back on the schedule as soon as they can. Kansas Carolina, does the Bashad Breeland situation push the timeline for the Jones deal in order to try and sign a veteran CB? I mean, I don't think so. They have till what, July 15, is it? Or is it May 15? I can't remember. There's a quarterback one there too, but I think they feel like Logan, even Apple. I mean, Cyrus Jones is out there. I don't think he's much of an option, but he's another guy with experience, still on the young side. Like, I don't think they feel any of those guys are going anywhere, and I think that they don't feel generally that they want to spend money on corner. So I think they're just going to ride it out, and they're going to try to get Chris Dunn in a way that is good for them, and I don't think they're going to let any extra pressure come on because of other positions. They're going to try to get Chris Dunn in a way that works for both his side and their side, make everybody happy, and have an incredibly elite defensive tackle on the roster for a long time. Gary Hahn, what UDFA has the best chance to have chances to make the team this year? I don't have the list in front of me, but the little cornerback could have some nickel reps. Davis, I think. Who else stood out to me? I like Lipscomb, but he's got an uphill battle at wide receiver. Hang on, let me pull him up here, and I will tell you for sure. The interesting thing as I do this is that they are not exactly in such a bad way. Like we said earlier, I don't think there's a ton of holes that they have to get corrected. But when you look here, they've got a couple of wide receiver types that could be returners. Maybe they make it because I'm overestimating the importance of wide receiver snaps, and maybe they're comfortable with just special team snaps. So you could say that's like Joel Blumenthal from Southwestern Oklahoma State. You have Jamal Curtis from Syracuse, Felton Davis. I mean, there's a number of these guys. No, Felton Davis was last year. This is not a thing where they have cut and dried, like plug and play kind of aspects where you know what a guy will do. Maybe this is just the best that they're going to get. Let's go back. Oh, that's the guy I was not thinking of. Javaris Davis is his name, from Auburn. Small cornerback, nickelback. I think he's 5'125", if I remember correctly. I'd have to pull that up too. And then Lipscomb is a wide receiver, again, with return potential. He's not the fastest guy, but he reminds me kind of like somewhere between Kenny Stills and like Snead with the Ravens. Like he's got a little bit of spring, and I like what he did. He's certainly value as a UDFA. But the guy that I think has the best chance is, again, small-ish, 5'10". I think 5'10 and 3/8 is what it is. Lavert Hill from Michigan is a guy that got a lot of production in turnovers and PBUs. Not the speediest guy, can play zone more. He's a candidate also to play some safety snaps. His versatility and his ball skills are going to get him a chance. And because they don't have the room to go out and buy a free agent or two at the position, I think he's got a shot. So Davis, Hill, and then there's Darryl Williams, the third, the Darryl with a Y Williams, the offensive lineman, who again could be a guard, could be a center, has that kind of versatility. He has a shot as well. You never quite know. Those are the guys that I think are probably the top of my list. I'm trying to look here and see if there's anybody that I'm, really discounting. I don't want to leave anyone out, since you guys know all these names. And as I look down the list, I mean, Brian Wright's an interesting linebacker. I don't think he's super athletic, but he's somebody. And that's another position that probably isn't as deep as others. So you have a potential there. I mean, Tommy Townsend, I think, is probably the leader now for the punter role without Dustin Colquitt on the job. He is technically a UDFA. Who else here? Cody White, the Michigan State receiver, has a couple of nice things about the way he moves. You never know there. And Andre Basellia is a small receiver that, again, could return kicks, kind of like a D'Anthony kind of role. So there's a couple of options. Buko 17, is Charlton signing a bad sign for Speaks? I don't think not hearing anything about him or his coaches is a good thing. I agree with you. Not having something positive to say is not the greatest sign, but I think Charlton is a signing of opportunity. He is a guy, like I said the day it happened, Brett Veach and Andy Reid, they rely on their scouting reports on how they set up their board, not just for this year, but for 3 years from now. This is what they did with Cam Irving. This is what they did with Emmanuel Ogbah. They had guys that they liked and had certain grades, whether it's a second round grade or a first round grade or whatever, that it didn't work out wherever they got drafted. And so if you get a chance to make a cheap signing on a guy that you thought had upside and he hasn't achieved it, it's just a question about coaching him up. Has he been injured? Maybe that's a concern as well. But if you think your coaches are good and you can bring him in cheap, give it a shot, right? So I don't think it has anything specifically to do with Speaks. I think it's more just that he was available, they had a good grade on him, and he was very inexpensive. Let's see. Jackson Shepard. Who would you rather have, Logan or Apple? Logan, definitely. I'm not big on guys that are disruptive or that aren't team guys. And Eli Apple has shown in what is a couple of stops now, he's not really a team guy. And I'm not sure that the Chiefs want to deal with his mother, quite frankly. So, and the bottom line is he hasn't lived up to his potential either. So that's a risk as well. The problem is that Logan Ryan is a veteran and he's earned his salary range and he's going to get it one way or the other. It's definitely coming down from what it was, but I just don't know where that crossover point is. So, excuse me. Let's see. Mohammad Youssuf, I wanted to get your opinion on the potential of the Thackeray's keys. Bo Pete, he goes by. I love his measurements. Yes, that's what they love too. That puts him in a class with Utica, Bryce Hall, and Christian Fulton. It does in terms of length. I can't remember his actual arm length. I want to say it's 31 3/8, which is longer than Fulton, and I think it's longer than Kuda as well. But yeah, he's definitely got the body type, and he had some ball production. He played at a small school. I mean, I still count Tulane as a smaller school. And I think in another year, he probably would have come out, and you heard Brett Veach talk about this, where they see a guy getting taken if he stays another year. They saw him as a day 2 pick for next season. So getting him in the, 5th or 6th this year makes, or 7th, makes a whole lot of sense. So they went and got it, and I don't have any problem with it. I think that he'll definitely make the roster. It's going to be about progression. Let's see. Samuel Elson, have you watched Project 11? No, I haven't seen it yet. Like I said before, I'm just getting there. Yevgeny, I talked about the UDFAs. Mr. Austin 507, do you think that we cut Breland considering he's waiting on a 4-game suspension, whatever suspension he gets from this last one? I think that's probably what's in the cards. I think the Chiefs are, again, trying to be a stand-up team and stand by their guys. If this whole thing is mistaken identity or something comes out of that, which may be one thing, but resisting arrest and the way that he resists arrest, and by now everybody's seen the video, is just not smart. He's lucky he didn't let it escalate any farther. If that officer had been prone to be more aggressive and I thought that officer had a really level head with the way that he dealt with it. If the type reaction, and I think in the end, unless he's completely exonerated, I think there's a good possibility that he is no longer a Chief come the season. But credit to the Chiefs for letting the legal process work out and giving their player the benefit of the doubt. Morbian 13, glad you're back. Is Clyde Edwards going to bring major improvement to the Chiefs running game? He's going to bring some improvement, yes. If nothing more than a 1-2 punch. I like the way that he grinds inside. Similar to what we saw from Darwin Thompson. He can get small in some of those smaller gaps. He definitely has the lower body. His lower body reminds me of Kareem Hunt, and I think he has the drive. He showed that in college. Whether he can do the same thing in driving piles in the NFL, I'm not so certain of. But I know he's going to give you the effort. I am not concerned about that at all. So I do think what I'm most worried about is short yardage, and I think he does give you a boost in short yardage, just being able to get in some of the smaller spaces and drive through them. Cole Killer, who do you see as the opening game against? Yeah, I'm just not certain. It could be Texas, that's for sure. Rashad Rozier, who wins the punter battle. I think it's going to be Thompson. I looked at like 2 games of his, and I know Matt Derrick looked a lot of his tape too, and he holds as well, which I think that's really the mark of delineation. He held in college. He has a solid leg. Nobody's Dustin Colquitt, so it's about hang time. And if you can get that ball to spin right, I think he's got a shot. So I'm going to lean that way right now. Aaron Morrow, have you seen the video of Breland? I think he was pretty lucky to not get shot. Yeah, I agree. That's what I was just saying. I agree with you there. I thought he was pretty close to getting himself hurt. Do you think the Veach was trying to draft players that could help him with a cap hit in the future? He always is. He keeps an eye on that pretty well. As 2021 is a hard year, we might lose a lot of players. Yes, there'll definitely be a lot of departures again. And this is part of the thing about the more stars you get, the more you have to let mid players go. Because to balance out the star salaries, you have to have the rookie and low-end salaries. So it's the guys in the middle that get squeezed. Let's see. Why not? Will the Chiefs sign a CB in the next offseason or draft a CB early because we have a lot of free agents? I hope so. I think they have to if they want to be able to sustain their ability to stop the passes that everybody seems to be gearing up to try and score as many points in the air as possible. So I do think it's going to play a factor. What do you think about the new quarterback signings, Miss Virginia? I think as much ado about almost nothing. I'm a little surprised they let Shermer go. So this Shea Patterson, I don't think he's got much of a chance. I like what they did in bringing another guy that's mobile. So I think that's good. And I didn't think Chad Henne would be back this year. So I certainly can't see him being back next year. So they're looking for somebody that can probably do more of the offense, that can run RPOs. I don't think Chad Henne's going to run RPOs, you guys. I just don't see him being that versatile. I'm a little surprised they didn't bring Matt Moore back, to tell you the truth. So, yeah. Gary Holland, how are the Chiefs going to use Damian and Clyde together? I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch. Like I said earlier, I think he might not have been here. I think Damian's still technically the starter. I think it'll be more of an even timeshare by the end of the season. Larry Heimer, is there any Chiefs CBs on the practice squad that might get ready to get a shot? The 2 that I mentioned before, Javarius Davis and Lavert Hill, are the 2 that I'm thinking. Norman Schreck, which rookie would have the best year other than running back? That's a good one. That is a really good question. It could be Willie Gay. If he keeps his head on straight and all of the past off the field stuff is behind him, he's got the talent to be really good at what they're going to ask him to do. And the other one is L'Jarius Sneed, in my opinion. I think that he's got the skill set that could really pay off, especially because he won't get the rookie, respect. They'll throw at him, and I think he's a guy that can take advantage of that. Let's see. That was a good question, Norman. Not an internet killer. Why 5 RBs? They traded for Washington. Or I thought that was a signing. They didn't trade for Washington. I think he was a free agent. Damian, and what about 2 other defensive players? Just wondering about the defensive issues. They clearly want to stay ahead of the NFL. Right now, they're the best offense in the NFL. 2 years running, really, they have been. Last year, you could even question it a little bit, but they sprung back. And it's about having the weapons to exploit defenses. The one that they probably didn't feel as good about was running back, because they didn't get short yards well, and there were some issues in the pass game. Damian made some big plays. Darryl made a couple of big plays, but it wasn't consistent enough. And so I think they wanted a spark. They wanted another playmaker back there that evens them out and really makes them have 5 full weapons to send into the field every play and really stress out the NFL. The NFL is still playing catch-up, and they want to stay a step ahead as long as they can. Ian Connis, does the signing of Taco Charlton mean that Speak's days are numbered? It certainly could. We have no idea. I've heard zero about where he's at, but it definitely doesn't make things easier for him. He's definitely going to be in a fight, in a rotation for him with him, Charlton and K-Pass. I think Charlton and K-Pass definitely have the edge right now. Let's see. Christopher Skidmore. Can the rookie running back be a possible starter as Williams' Super Bowl performance locked him into starting role? I think they start, like I said, knowing the offense, everything else. I think Damian starts as the starter, and eventually that will become a full share. And by 2021, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the starter. Samuel Elson, what role do you think Shea Patterson will have in the QB room? I think he'll be here in camp and he'll get cut. He may make it to the practice squad. I was not impressed with him as a college quarterback. I did not have a draftable grade on him, so I don't think he's going to be here long, guys. Heath Roth, what does Darryl Williams need to improve on the field to see more often? I don't know, because he's got the speed. He's willing to stick his face in there. He doesn't seem to be out of position very much. He could probably improve his man-to-man coverage in order to learn to shadow, move his feet faster. I think it's just a mismatch that the coaching staff doesn't probably feel that he's big enough to play linebacker, and he's probably just a touch short of what they want at safety. I think he could play Dan Sorensen's role eventually. I just don't know if the coaching staff feels that way. Ian Connis, what do you think of Nick Kaiser? He looked okay in the preseason. I think he's a blocking back. I don't see much from him. I'm not sure he'll be on the roster, to tell you the truth. You can see where they're going with Ricky Seals-Jones. Ricky Seals-Jones is more of a receiver than even a tight end. He bulked up a little bit. They want to throw the ball. I don't think it's something that's going to really play to Nick Kaiser's strengths. Hot and spicy. How much TDs do you think Mahomes is going to have? I think he's going to have a little uptick from last season. I'm going to put it at about 35. Just my thought. Rashad Rozier, thanks for your super bump. I like it. Appreciate the support. Ian Connis, what do you think of Dorn's? Okay, I asked that one. Let's see. Cole Keeler could want Thornhill be converted to CB. He could, but he's a very good free safety. They need to leave him there, and he could become elite. So I don't see that happening. More phase. Do you think that it could damage a rookie that has tackle skills to put him at guard for a couple of seasons? I don't. I think it limits what he has to do, and specifically, I assume, Faves, that you're talking about Niang. I think it limits his mobility, puts him between the tackle and the guard, and I think that actually protects his hip. He had that surgery in October, so it really hasn't been that long. And if you keep him in the box at guard, that does go, if he does have to play snaps, keep him from really having to open up, really having to open that hip and get turned to fight edge rushers that may have more speed on him, because he's not the speediest guy. So that might protect him in terms of flexibility. And I think it gives him a year to get a little bit stronger. I think he is underpowered for the guard, but again, this is Andy's offense, and they want to be athletic. They don't necessarily have to be powerful. He says he's 100%, so I'm not sure that he can't play tackle right now. I think, honestly, the best spot for him is to stay at tackle, learn, play the swing. He played right tackle, so going over to left, I think, is not something I want to jump him into either. But yeah, I think Andy wants versatile guys, and Andy Heck wants to coach guys to be versatile, so I think that's what will happen. Ian Connis, what rookie from last year do you expect to step up in a big way? I think Colin Saunders is going to make a big step forward. I think he showed some spark. I think he learned to anchor. Now it's about penetrating and getting that pass rush back to where he was in college. And I think his year of adjustment has begun. I think we're going to see good things from Colin Saunders. Let's see. Dan Durham, as much as I like Williams, don't you think that we were better when we had Hunt? I don't. When you look at yards per carry, Williams has been better, and with relatively the same offensive line. So I think Hunt was very good. Number one thing that he does better than any other back the Chiefs have or have had since he left was track the ball over his shoulder. When he got loose down the middle, or even on wheels, when he had to track over his shoulder, he was very good at that. They don't have anybody that good yet. I haven't seen Edwards-Helaire have to do it very much, so I can't. Maybe I should put an asterisk on that. But no, I think the detriment in his attitude and his selfishness outweighs the fact that he was slightly better at some things than some of the backs that they have. I do not mourn for the loss of Kareem Hunt. I know a lot of you guys do. I think you could put all your stock in Edwards-Helaire and feel pretty good about it. Let's see. Samuel Olsen, do you see Breland being suspended longer than 2 games or 4 games? Yes, I think it's going to end up being 8, if not more. Dan Durham, how much? Oh, wait, that was the same question. Sorry. Pono Kwai, aloha. Helaire will claim NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Okay. Defensive coordinators will not be happy. All right, Pono, if you say so, I'm with it. Ryan, why don't the who doesn't make why don't they make the 53-man roster bigger? They are. I think it's going to be 55 now. I think the new CBA changes that. I could be wrong. I'll have to go question. I think whether they make that bigger or not, I think they got to get rid of the active day thing. If you have 53 guys on your roster, let all 53 of them play. I think it's ridiculous that they don't. So we'll see what happens. Econ is, split high safeties, seam passer that Travis Kelce or even Ricky Seals-Jones, because Ricky Seals-Jones can do that pretty well. He's not either of those things. He is kind of a use check, second guy off the line of scrimmage, can run in the backfield, can run the underneath drags, can post up in the middle between hook zones for linebackers. I think he is a utility guy. I don't think he's either a fullback or a true tight end. I'm excited about him, though, because I think Andy can get really creative with him. And quite frankly, I went and rewatched the Super Bowl, too. All the things, and the athletic matrix is nearly the same for John Lovett and Kyle Juszczyk. Almost identical, down to the 10 splits. They're so close, it's crazy. The difference is that Juszczyk has played his position for a long time, and John Lovett is coming from being a Ivy League quarterback, and that is a vast difference. The fact that he got hurt, I think, really sidetracked him. If he had been able to just be on the practice squad last year and learn, or even be a special teams player and learn, I think that would have been even better. But I like what John Lovett brings, and I think he could be a really cool wrinkle for Andy to use as, again, another weapon that can exploit defenses in a way they're not ready for. Let's see. Stephen Concepcion, what attributes about wow you in college players? I mean, it's the basic things. Are you advanced in your technique? Especially for like tackles or edge rushers. Can you hand fight? Can you win those things? If you're a receiver, are you strong enough to get off a press? Can you get guys off of you? Keep hands from rerouting you. That's important. But the big things that stand out to me is that you have fundamental knowledge. You can see where you have to be. You have instincts about where to be, whether you're on defense or offense. And do you have the explosion? It's easy for me to see when I watch college film if a player has NFL level athleticism or not. And 9 times out of 10, it's the limiting factor. You can be as smart as you want to be. Zach Thomas was a smart player. He couldn't play in today's NFL. He couldn't cover enough. I mean, athleticism is always the thing that cuts people off. It's what ended my career. It's what ends 99% of careers that don't make it to the NFL. And the other part is you got to learn everything. And so even if you have the athleticism, you have to be dedicated. You have to be able to learn as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. But I think that's the thing that wows me is when I see talent that I can visually see is NFL caliber. Let's see. Skipper, I do think John Lovett will make it. I think he will be an interesting usage. Tyler Clausen, thanks for your support with the super chat. With Reeder and Wiley free agents after the year, do you think the Chiefs are planning to replace them with Yang and Rankin? Not necessarily, no, because I don't think Niang or Rankin can play center. So Austin Reeder's a question mark there. I do think that they tried Allegretti there last year. I don't think he can really play center either. He's just too tall. But I do think that Darryl Williams might. He's a UDFA, but I had a draftable grade on him. And I think there's a couple other guys that they feel that they could put in there. Even Noah Wiley could be an option. I don't think so, but that's what they could be thinking. I just don't see Niang doing it, and I don't see Rankin doing it either. I think much like Cam Irving, I think Rankin's a guard, and I think he could play a little bit of tackle if he has to. Let's see. Getting down to the end, you guys. Hit those question marks, and I'll make sure to hit them. Marshall Smith, hope you're doing good. It's been a bit. He says Clyde Jamal Holmes and Okoye. Pick two for the 2020 backfield, and why would you pick them? Whew. Easy. Christian Okoye and Jamal Charles. Because I want to be able to run people over and then run away from them. You platoon those guys. There's no one linebacker that can beat both of them. There's no defensive line that can really take Okoye out of a game, and there's no linebacker set that can stop Jamal Charles. So whatever they do, you have a counter for it. That's what I would do. I love the thunder and lightning process. And I think those two would be, I might have to go play Madden now. Thanks, Marshall. Michael Ford, were you able to watch the Alex Smith? No, not yet. I have it recorded. I'm going to try to get to it tonight or tomorrow night. I have a couple of my my beer podcasts to record too. If you guys are into craft beer, I have a whole other podcast called RGR Craft, so check that out as well. I have some pals that I bum around with on that. We got to get some recording done. It's been a bit. Nathan Roth, how do you know? Did you know the details about Damian Williams getting robbed in LA? I saw that headline before I started recording podcasts this afternoon, but I haven't read through it. I understand that nothing happened to him, but that he got robbed. I don't know the details. Ian, may the 4th be with you as well. And there's Finn, of course. Folks, it's Star Wars Day. Go watch them. Aaron, Chiefs Rules asks, I'm sorry I missed you, Chiefs Rule, but thank you, Aaron, for doing this for me. Who would you think will take on in Super Bowl 55? Good question. I really think the Niners did a good job getting back there. Maybe they go out in the championship game, but I think they have to be the odds-on favorite, them and the Saints. I like what the Saints did too. I think Breeze is going to be more motivated than ever. I think he almost hung it up, and I think he wants to get it done. I like what they did on defense. I think that they've added some free agency. I think this is the all-in push, even to the point that Sean Payton got sick, and he said there's not going to be any offseason. Like, I still feel like the Saints and the Niners are the top two in the NFC. Finn, you the man. May the 4th be with you as well. All right, last couple questions, you guys. Adam Bono, love the channel. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. What UDFA do you think will make the biggest impact? Any of the CBs? I think there are two options to make it. If you missed earlier, Lavert Hill and Davis, I think, have options. I'm not sure if they'll make it. The one UDFA that I think probably has the best chance overall, if it's not those two guys, it's Darryl Williams, I think. Again, because of what we talked about, he can play center. They are facing some tough challenges next year in free agency, so we'll see. Finn, are we comfortable with the O-line, or do we have to see more moves? I think they're set. I don't think they're going to do anything else. I might be looking around, but there's not much out there, to tell you the truth. And I think they're going to stand pat as they are now. Morbian, do you still think D-Train is still going to have a breakout season this season? I think that he could. It all depends on how they see him. I think the thing for Darwin Thompson, he's got to get touches. If the coaching staff decides that they like what they see from Edwards-Helaire and Darwin, they could decide to move Damian Williams and trade him. If that happens, I could see if Darwin takes a big step forward and you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you could see that as the 1-2 punch. You never know. You'll just have to see how they come back into camp. Good question, Morbian. Nathan Roth, do you think Alex Smith should play again? No, I do not. I do not think he should. I think he has dodged a bullet. I think he has shown the character that he has. I think he should sit back, coach or call, and enjoy the rest of his life. I know he's a competitive guy, so I think he might try, but I would hate to see him get re-injured. There's a reason that it ended Joe Theismann's career in the same injury in the same way. And after all the complications for Alex, I just don't want to see him get hurt again. I like the guy. I'm a big Alex Smith fan, and I would say he would be an incredible coach and somebody that knows offenses. I think that's what he should do. Ian Roberts, do you think that Rivers will perform in Indy? He never had a decent O-line before. He will make them tough enough in the playoff. You're absolutely right. That offensive line is the biggest thing for him. He can stand back there, duck around, wait for guys to get open. And that's honestly, that's something the Chiefs have to worry about. Same thing with what's going on in the AFC West. Drew Lock has got targets now. He doesn't have the offensive line yet, but he's got targets. They have speed in Las Vegas now. There's a lot of question marks out there. But I think Phillip Rivers is definitely in one of the better situations for him. They added another running back. They're going to let the running backs carry the load and try to keep people off of him. Let's see. Hot and spicy. Do you think Lavert Hill can take Breeland's starting spot for time? No. Lavert Hill's not a starter. They'll start Fenton before they'll start a rookie UDFA, I guarantee you. But he could make this roster. All right, folks. Last two questions. Big Chief, can Rankin take over for Wiley? It's possible if he's healthy. It's the knee thing that's going to be the question. And Casey K69, last question. Thank you all for joining. What do you see our record being? I'm thinking 11-5. I think they have a severe advantage in having the offense back almost intact over everybody else. I'm saying 13-3 right now. That's my thought. I had them 14-2 last year. Obviously, I was wrong. I'm saying 13-3 this time. It's May anyway. I'm optimistic. Oregon Cheese Chris. Hey, Ryan. Better to move off of Jones and risk injury than lost cap space like Houston and Perry. That's the question. That's the whole thing, and how much money he wants. It's about how's he going to act, how's he going to play after he gets paid. You saw what happened with Justin Houston. Now, there was injuries involved there, so you can't lay it all at his feet. But you definitely saw that he was not the same intense, driven player after his contract as he was before. So, all right, guys. I'm going to call it Ian Roberts. I'm not sure who's going to make the playoffs, but I think it's going to be whoever's with them in the Super Bowl again. How's that for an answer? I appreciate you guys being here. Everyone with Super Chats, thank you very much. I'm going to have more T-shirts for sale soonish. That always helps the channel. If you guys want to help, leave that thumbs up if you're new here. That like really helps. And I appreciate everybody for being here. More videos coming. The contributors will be back. Dan Harms will look at some film for us. I think you guys are going to like where we're going with this team, putting together some good dudes that are not exactly the same as me. So, Kyle Hilliard, you probably said it best, and I'll leave you guys with this thought. The Baltimore Ravens are the number one threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be great. Thank you all for your time on Monday night. I'll catch you next week, and I'll have something new for you before then. Have a good one. See you next time.